This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Howling with the Homies is back following Game 2 tonight. It's presented by Youngsteds. Join Max and Parker live from Target Center as they recap Game 2, hopefully a win, of Wolves Warriors, and take your questions. Catch it right here on KFAN and the iHeartRadio app, new and improved for 2025, and watch it live on KFAN.com/watch.
Michael Russo from The Athletic, final hour of the show, final 45 minutes of the show because my clock management's horrific. And I feel bad because I asked a couple of my buddies to come into studio for a final hour roundtable. Joe O'Donnell, former Arrow Joe, as everybody knows him, now Wild Joe Radio on the X Machine, the longtime, you're getting to be you're a longtime organizational play-by-play guy, but now entering your 5th year or 4th year? Behind the mic.
Next year will be year 4 doing every game, but the 5th year doing the bulk of it.
Yep, for right here on the Fan, Wild Radio. And you can follow them on X at Wild Joe Radio. And they were just showing some old Becoming Wild episodes where we saw like a 20-year-old Joe O'Donnell when he was still in Houston. That was back like 10 years. It had to be because, right, the what?
I think that was the 2011 playoff run because Spurgeon in there, right?
Yeah. How young did Spurgeon look on some of those development camps? It's hilarious.
Dude, I got to say, I might have told this story before, but there was a season ticket holder event. You want to introduce Dane real quick?
Yeah, and Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press. Dane is the Vikings writer for the Pioneer Press, former Wild writer. In fact, he was nicely made an appearance for the Wild final game of the season. Typical. Yeah, typical. Just shows up and just gets the carving knives out. And then, and he's he's covering the Wolves series as well, also with Jace Frederick. And we'll be talking to Dane as well. You can follow him at Dane Mizutani on the X Machine. Go for it, Joe.
So Spurgeon, pretty cool, by the way. World Championships for him, first time ever. So congrats there, the Wild captain for Team Canada there. But so this is this would have been 2010 training camp in Houston, and we had a season ticket holder event at a place called Pete and Shorty's, and the whole team had to go and meet the season ticket holders, and my job was just introduce the players that were there. And as we were getting set up and people were filing in, I'm looking around, I don't know really that many guys yet. It's the first day of camp.
I'm just thinking about it.
And I'm legit looking at this guy and I'm like, who brought their brother?
Yeah.
Whose cousin is this? Whose buddy is at Pete and Shorty's? I hadn't, again, it was a very early training camp. I had no idea what Jared Spurgeon looked like. I had no idea he was going to play, 1,000 games in the NHL, obviously, at that point. So, kind of crazy now, 15 years later, to be around Spurge, to cover him, and to see what a great career he's had.
Crazy. Gord tells the story that he was in the Westin the morning that he showed up to play his NHL debut. I think he was with Dan Tierhar, and all of a sudden he sees this guy coming in with a Houston Aeros bag, thinking, is this a stick boy, or what is this? I mean, it's crazy. We all joke to him all the time, to Spurge, how young he looks still, but when you see him actually from that 2010 video, how really young he was, it's crazy that the career that he's had.
So I gotta,
especially when you look at it, the context, wow, that guy is going to be their captain one day, 15 years later.
Yeah. So somebody sent me a tweet the other day that said that if Spurgeon plays 1,000 games, which he's on track to do, obviously, he'll be the second defenseman ever, 5'9" or shorter, I think it was, to play 1,000 games. And the other is Minnesota North Stars Leo Boivin. Hopefully I'm not butchering that name. Tom Reed played with him. I talked to TR about Leo and his game and what he was like, but I think it was a 5'9" or shorter, 1,000 games as an NHL defenseman.
We'll
Spurgeon will be the second ever.
That's crazy.
It'd be pretty cool.
Yep. And Dane, we'll talk about the Vikings in a little bit, but you are I hate saying a Wolves fanatic because you're also covering the series, so I don't want to say fanatic because you're putting your allegiances away, but you are a basketball fanatic. And obviously, the game the other night, it just felt like one that you kind of, if you lose the series, you're going to regret, because Steph Curry's out for the majority of the game, and Ant starts off 0 for 10, obviously had a big second half, but it just felt like they just never could get any traction.
Yeah, pretty unacceptable performance given the circumstances. You're the favorites coming in with what you did to the Los Angeles Lakers, really exerted your dominance in that series, and then to come out so flat against the Golden State Warriors, it almost felt like the Wolves felt like they could just show up and win because they just knocked off LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Well, you saw right away, like, this is a real basketball team. And by the way, like a 3-time, 4-time champion with Steph Curry. The motion offense they ran, the connectedness they showed on defense, the Warriors looked like the better team. And then Steph Curry pops his hamstring and everything goes by the wayside. So they're going to look at this as a missed opportunity if they go lose this series in the end, because that's a game you have to win. They're not going to lose this series. I mean, just look at the line in Vegas. They lost game 1. They're down 0-1 in the series. And they're more heavily favored now than they were at the start of the series, because Steph Curry's probably going to miss games 2, 3, and 4.
At least.
And then probably 5, 6, and 7, too. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you don't come back from a hamstring injury at that age with the style he runs and be at 100%. So it's a frustrating game for fans, for sure. I don't think it'll have any bearing on in the series overall.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say that, didn't Steve Kerr use the word crushed, right? Steph's crushed. To me, as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, he ain't playing.
Yeah, one of my best friends covers the Golden State Warriors for the San Francisco Chronicle, and he said after the game, it looked like they had just lost the NBA championship, because I think Steph
the guys
Curry,
find out real quick.
And
right?
he knows deep down, he knows his body, and maybe he responds well to this treatment, and he's good to go in a week. But when you're pushing it out a week and saying we'll reevaluate it then, very rarely in sports is it like he's ready. He's good to go. So
ask Wild fans and Kirill Kaprizov.
Exactly.
Evaluate next week. 3 months later.
You're giving me flashbacks.
Joe, obviously, you were at the Marc-Andre Fleury presser the other day. I was really impressed. Like, he handled that the way he handles everything, right? I mean, it was no waterworks. It might have been like the beat writers are more emotional than he was. Maybe it's because he also knows he's going around nothing. But you know where he got me was when he talked about, and he never gave real specifics, but the drive home after the game. Yeah. Where that was clearly where, you probably didn't want to be in the car next to him because it probably wasn't safe.
The other thing is too, Michael, when he left the ice, right? Obviously, the Vegas Golden Knights tried to stay out there. They tried to give him his proverbial flowers. He wanted nothing to do with it. He gave the quick little sheepish wave, and he got off that ice as fast as I've ever seen him leave a sheet of ice ever, right? He's always the last guy off from practice, warm-ups. Like, he doesn't ever want to leave the rink. And I think he even said it, in that media availability, that was a hard moment for him. He didn't want to be out there. He's such a humble guy. I've kind of thought all year that he hasn't enjoyed all of this fanfare, just because that's not his nature. Like, he embraces it. He's great with the fans. But I don't think that he doesn't seek out the spotlight ever. It just kind of finds him because of his personality, his smile, the vibe he gives off. So I felt like at times this year, when people were like, do you think he'll come back? I was like, no way is this guy going to come back, because he doesn't want to go through this again. Like, he's such a humble guy. Again, all my opinion. I just felt like from afar watching him take this whole year in, it was probably hard on him because of all the fanfare, all the hoopla, all the thank yous. And I know he appreciated it, but I think deep down he was like, man, I just want to play, enjoy my teammates, and kind of ride off in the sunset. So what a career. I just feel very fortunate to even spend a few years around him, to call some of his biggest moments, moving into second wins all time, beating Ovechkin one last time, winning a game in Pittsburgh, the game at the Forum or the Bell Center in Montreal. Like, those are games personally I won't ever forget. I've got him to thank for it. Yeah, we've never, by the way, TMZ just broke that white smoke is coming out of the Sistine Chapel. So TMZ, they break everything from celebrity deaths and all that to the new pope.
Yeah, I saw a Schefter bomb saying that there was white smoke. I was like, what's going on here?
What are the odds? Do we get the FanDuel odds on...
Yeah. Dane, I remember you were there with me when they acquired Marc-Andre Fleury, and I think you and I both agree, man, what a class act. It was a true honor to cover him. You don't try to look at players that you cover that way. But he just came in with this aura. When Marcus Foligno is saying that he's like all excited, telling Tony DeCosta, we just got Flower in front of Capo Kakinen, who was just traded for Jake Middleton. And Kevin Fiala is going crazy on the team bus because his hero was just acquired by the team. It just shows that this pedigree of player that Bill Guerin acquired is different than most of your normal players that you acquire at a deadline.
Yeah, and I think we all felt that too. Like, even as reporters, like, holy crap, we're going to get to cover Marc-Andre Fleury. And look, I haven't been doing this for 25, 30 years, but I count him as my most favorite athlete to cover. Like, he's the top of that list, not just because of his mystique and aura about him, but because of how he treated people. And I think that's what you see with the teammates that he has. And when he's going into away buildings and they're chanting his name and they're showing tribute videos in Los Angeles and Vancouver alike, it's because this guy just treated everybody the same. And somehow, even if you didn't know him, you talk to him for 10 minutes and if he makes it, you feel like you've known him forever. That's something I won't forget in my career as long as I get to do this. Honor and a privilege that I got to cover Marc-Andre Fleury, even if it was only for a couple of seasons.
And he left yesterday for Sweden. He's going to be at least participating in with Team Canada. Awesome. Get to spend some time on the ice with Jared Spurgeon again, and obviously Jake Middleton. Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Macklin Celebrini. There's going to be a lot of fun that he's going to have. So he's already come out of retirement, at least for one day. Then we know that he's going to be around this team a lot. He's going to be spending his retirement here during the school years. I think that, they're joking about him being E-Bug at times in practice, but clearly he's going to don the pads again and go on practice. He can't be the E-Bug during games, so Connor Beaupre's safe. You're not allowed to have a professional
You can't have a Hall of Famer.
No, you can't. But he is allowed to go on the ice whenever they need, Gus needs a day off or they've got an issue, and that'll be probably good, especially during a losing streak. So all of a sudden Flower shows up and you know that he's going to be doing what a lot of players seem to be doing with Bill Guerin, and that's getting sort of his paws in different parts of the organization and being a value here in some capacity. Wanted to talk to you more about the presser. Marco Rossi, that one, I know a lot of fans felt like the seeds that I was planting all year was a little overdone, but you just saw where this was going. And I think even in the playoffs, they thought this was a non-story when I was harping on it, just judging from the comments. This is not a non-story. Like when Bill Guerin says that we got to get Eriksson Ek some help, but doesn't even bring up Marco Rossi, you know that he is not in his mind considering Marco Rossi even being on the team next year. Like they are going to look to trade him this offseason. How did it get to this? Because it truly is, for an organization that hasn't drafted and developed a lot of centers in their career, to take a 24 goal scorer, 60 points at age 23 and just say we're moving on from him. And likely not re-signing him to what he maybe want. It's pretty clear that they are going to try to figure out a way to move him and replace him with other centers.
Yeah, obviously I read what you write, and I'm obviously around the organization, and this has kind of been like, it feels like a roller coaster, right? Like, didn't pan out initially, had to go to the minors, figured it out last year, even better year this year, and there were stretches and times throughout the last 2 years where I thought, okay, maybe he's not a long-term fix, and then maybe he is the guy. Just because of how he played or how he didn't play. Like, he seemed to just be, at times, inconsistent, right? And you say, 20-plus goals, 60 points, back-to-back years of 20-plus goals. Like, how is that not consistent enough? It just felt like stretches of the season you could see where he wasn't as productive, wasn't as good, and the ice time waned, and the coaches' trust in him waned. And so it's like, it was just very high and low for Rossi the last couple of years, in my opinion. And there were stretches where I would be like, all right, he is a long-term fix or a long-term piece of the puzzle. And there were times where I wondered what his future would be like. I think what you saw down the stretch of the regular season, and you wrote about it, Michael, and we talked about it a lot as broadcasters, is like, and then fourth line role in the playoffs, and he played it great, but it's like that the proof's in the pudding. If the coaches don't trust you enough to keep you out there regularly or to limit your minutes in big game situations, they obviously don't see enough there, in my opinion, to make it a long-term fix or a long-term part of the organization. do you want to give him $7 million a year over 5-6 years or 6, whatever the number is? Like, it just feels like a lot for a guy that maybe at times isn't going to produce in the big moments, or when the going gets tough. Now, he had some late game tying goals. I don't mean by any means that he's not clutch. He might go on elsewhere and have a great long NHL career. I just wonder, in the playoffs, with his size, like, can he get it done? I think that's the biggest question, and I think the organization has kind of told you recently the direction this may be heading.
Yeah, and I don't think it has to do with courage or grit or anything like that. I think a lot of it is pace. Like, they just, I don't feel like he has the pace to break down defenders when the going gets tough. And if you break down the analytics, his numbers against the most physical teams, especially the top teams in the West, it's not very good. But the one thing I'll say is that you could probably take the same numbers with everybody on the team. Eriksson, Boldy, Zuccarello, they're all going to be on par against those same teams.
Well, I mean, that's what makes it scoring so hard in the NHL, right? It's like the world-class defenders, the big defensemen, when push comes to shove, like, it does get harder to score down the stretch of the regular season, the playoffs, no matter who you are, really. But the thing about Rossi is, like, if you look at it, like, Ryan Carter and I were talking about this, is like, think about the Rossi goals. He gets to the middle of the ice a lot, right? He gets to the front of the net a lot. But when was the last time Rossi came down the wing, beat a defenseman one-on-one, and ripped it top shelf? Like, I don't think that there's that type of offense, at least not now in his game. That amount of skill, that amount of speed to his game. He just doesn't have a lot of, like, highlight reel end-to-end goals. Not that many guys do across the league, but that's not part of his game. So if you can't break down a defender, if you can't generate your own offense when the going gets tough, I guess that's part of the reason why maybe the points and the goals are nice, but they're not some of that high-end skill as far as the offense goes.
I'm with Joe O'Donnell and Dane Mizutani. If you want to text us about the Wild Wolves or Vikings, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line is 64686. When we come back, I want to ask Dane about what's going on during Vikings rookie camp this week. And we got some more a bunch of questions already on the Wild. I want to talk to you about my conversation with Ben Hankinson about Brock Nelson and Brock Besser. Those are clearly two guys that he indicates would be intrigued about coming here. Got questions about offer sheets, and we'll obviously talk about Kirill Kaprizov as well. We'll be right back on the...
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Fan.
The Fan is Sukup Manufacturing, where you fan on the farm starting May 19th, 9 to noon. We'll be taking your tractor talkbacks. Each day, one farmer will be chosen to receive a Sukup prize pack, including a Carhartt cooler, a Brewmate Growler canteen. Get full details, KFAN.com/farm. Sukup Manufacturing Company, helping farmers feed and fuel the world.
Michael Russo from The Athletic back here at the Fan. If you want to text us, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line 64686. Joe O'Donnell, the Wild play-by-play guy on radio, is in studio. Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press covers the Vikings in studio and is also helping Jace Frederick cover this Wolves series. Are you going out to San Fran too?
No San Fran for me. No travel. That might put the Pioneer Press under the...
Well, I don't know if you saw the prices out there. It's crazy, the flights to San Francisco. And I only know this because I was trying to go to a little Ritz-Carlton out there, Half Moon Bay or something. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go there. And nope, not going to pay that. You've been covering Vikings rookie camp here. It's been like OTAs and rookie camp, like...
Rookie camp's coming up tomorrow.
Okay.
And the guys have been in. The way the offseason works, it's a little convoluted. So they're back for offseason workouts, but there's levels to it. Like, you have to go through certain phases before they can get on the field. They're at the portion of the offseason where I think they can go at a walk-through pace. And then they will graduate to 7-on-7, 11-on-11 here for real OTAs that we will go to in a couple of weeks. But yeah, rookie minicamp. So it's the first time we'll see a lot of these guys on the field tomorrow. our only access point is tomorrow, Friday, but I think they go through the weekend with those guys.
And how's JJ looked? Obviously, we just heard KOC on Rich Eisen's show and had some interesting comments as well.
Yeah, we saw him a week and a half ago. This is the first time I've seen him throw a football since the summer, since actually the preseason game where he somehow tore his meniscus after looking incredible. The arm looks good, but I haven't seen him in the offense. I haven't seen him under center. I haven't seen him throw real routes. What I will say is the thing with J.J. McCarthy that you noticed right away last year when he was a rookie was just how live that arm was. And I think the perception of him coming out of college was he handed the ball off a lot. Does he have the arm talent needed to succeed in the NFL? He proved that immediately last year in training camp. And then watching him throw, we probably saw him throw 25 passes. The NFL is so weird with media. You get to watch these guys for 15 minutes and then you got to go back downstairs until they're done practicing. But we saw him throw the ball and the arm is still live. So that is a good sign. I am very much looking forward to seeing him on the field here, in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. I love this quote, by the way, Joe. In game 1 versus Vegas, Rossi was a non-event. He spent the first 2 periods skating on the edges of the play and didn't engage. That's why he's out the door. Could you imagine if they said that about Matt Boldy in his first 2 playoffs? Like that's a ridiculous take. If that's really why he's out the door, because he played 2 bad periods of your first game, like, are you kidding me? If that's really why a fan thinks that he's out the door, it's ridiculous.
Well, that sounds.
Then what's the excuse when he scored in games 2 and 3?
Right. Yeah, that sounds a little outlandish. A couple of periods of hockey, you're not going to base somebody's career trajectory on it. It takes a.
This is why I don't read the comments anymore in any of my articles.
Well, I don't believe that. You're a glutton for punishment. Yeah, I think honestly, again, like there were highs and lows. We'll see where it ends up with Rossi. But if you're going to move on from a 60-point guy, obviously you're hoping you get some value back for it. Right? Like I would assume it's a player, not just a pick or two, and or maybe they get a deal done. Maybe they patch this thing up and he's back in the fold and gives the Wild more depth. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. It is a big storyline this summer, in addition to the money to spend and all those sorts of things. The Wild have a few holes to fill. They're going to have to find another goaltender, I'd imagine, within the organization, right? Yep. Somebody with some experience. So there's a bunch of spots that they can be active, and obviously the potential of Rossi, a new deal or moving on from him, will be something to keep an eye on.
Yep, and Bill Guerin did tell me that they'll get some Jesper Wallstedt insurance just because he did not have a good year. Right now, they're looking at him to be the backup to Philip Gustafsson next year, but we'll see. Question here, and this seems low. 320 person. Guy girl says, what does Russo think a good contract would be for Kirill? 11.5 times 7. It's going to be more, right? I mean, like Mikko Rantanen just signed for 12. He's going to name his price. He's going to be the highest paid winger in the league, probably temporarily the highest paid forward, unless McDavid also signs his extension on game 1, or meaning day 1 of July 1st. I think he's getting 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, I think probably 14 is where it starts.
I think they'd love 14.
Yeah.
They'll jump for joy if it's 14.
And I think to your point, it's the highest paid winger thing. It's that notoriety. It's that distinction. Even if it only, like we see in the NFL, highest paid player ever. And then like 2 weeks later, somebody goes and breaks that. But like for those 2 weeks, you're the highest paid winger. So, I think, and the quotes from Kaprizov's end of season media availability, like, he didn't really hide anything, right? He said he loves it here and he'd love to stay.
Yep.
That's a great,
and look,
that's a great
I get
sign.
It. Like the cynics out there are saying, well, what else is he going to say? This, I do, like all signs point to him being genuine there. Now they got to work it out, all that stuff. But I do think that, like, to me, the communication they're having with his agents, everything he says, the way he conducts himself, and also, like, look, say what you want, and this might be a selfish thing, but from his standpoint, but when you miss half the season and a team's putting 120 on the table this summer, are you really going to wait and risk that you're going to be having this problem crop up next year and miss half the season? Like, that's enticing when that money is real on July 1.
I am a little personally concerned or wondering about his health, meaning just like this is a couple years in a row now where he's missed not just like 5 games, like a chunk of the season and late in the year. They need him. They just need him so bad. The fans need him on the ice, like, to make it a better product, to see one of the best players in the league on a nightly basis. And the Wild need him to have great success and get out of the first round and make a run, which I truly believe they can do if Kaprizov's healthy. But it's just, for me, I'm like, man, like, this guy needs to play 70 plus games next year, 75 games next year. Like, he's got to get back to 110 point season, which he's on pace to do every time he's on the ice. It's just last couple of years, just a little bit of not available enough for Minnesota when they've really needed him. I mean, think about how much easier it would have been just to clinch a playoff spot last year. They had Kaprizov for even 60 games.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It'll be really interesting what happens there. They definitely need him. And to your point, the health, when you have core muscle injuries, that's usually because something else is out of whack, and that's eventually going to go. And so, look, that extension starts at age 29. This is a risk on both sides. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back for a little long segment. I got a bunch of Vikings questions here for Dan as well about JJ Addison extension, things like that. And then I got some more questions on the Wild for Joe O'Donnell. This is Michael Russo from The Athletic. We'll be back here. Final segment of the show.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Show on the Fan.
The legendary Bryan Adams is set to wrap up his Roll with the Punches tour at Target Center November 26th, and you could be there. Check out our contest page to see how you could win a pair of tickets. KFAN.com, keyword contest center today.
Bryan Adams, ZZ Top, all these old schoolers, Brett. All around.
All
do you even know who any of these people are? I know Dane doesn't.
I mean, I know them. I know ZZ Top with the beards, and Bryan Adams is Canadian, I think.
Yes, there you go. All right, Michael Russo from The Athletic. Final couple minutes of the show. Joe O'Donnell from the Wild Radio Network here, and Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press. And Steph Curry, Anthony Slater from The Athletic, tweeting out that he's at the shoot-around. Is this just a mirage here, or is Rick Celebrini, Macklin's dad, the miracle worker that we all knew he was, Dane?
If Rick Celebrini is a true miracle worker, then yes. Otherwise, I just think this is a teammate who knows he's not going to play, just chilling. Yeah,
knows he's creating a distraction.
Yep.
JJ, somebody asked if he's going to get preseason reps. That's how we're already talking about preseason football.
Yes, I think he probably will. Generally speaking, Kevin O'Connell hasn't played his starters, his big guns in the preseason. But I do think you have to see this guy live at some point. I mean, you're going to have him in training camp. You're going to have him, obviously, in these joint practices you're going to have coming up. I don't think he's going to play like a full preseason game, but I think this is one where you have to see him with live bullets, even if it's only for a little bit. If you're worried about the knee and that's why you're not playing him in a preseason game, that's probably just being too gun shy. I mean, he's going to have to play more games down the road. So if you're too afraid to play him in the preseason just because he might hurt his knee again, I'm not sure that's the best way to go.
How do we know if they're talking like Justin Jefferson or JJ on that question? I don't even know anymore, right?
Justin Jefferson said, "You can call me Jets." I probably will never call him Jets to his face. I'll go with Justin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gotten a little weird.
They'd have to play their starting offensive line then if they're going to have the young QB in there in a preseason game too, right? Like, you don't want to. You don't want to risk anything if you're putting them out there.
I would think so, and I would think it could just be something as simple as, like, let's see him for a series, let's see him for 2 series. I don't think they'll go too crazy with it. And look, maybe he looks amazing in training camp, and you don't even want to go there, which is fine too. But I just think now you haven't seen him throw. You haven't seen him drop back. You probably want to see that before you see it in week 1.
Dane, what is, it's always impressed me that the coaching staff of the Vikings, how they kind of, it seems they squeeze the most out of their personnel. Your time covering them, what stands out in that regard as far as the coaching staff and how they develop guys and get guys ready?
Yeah, I think obviously it starts at the top with Kevin O'Connell, and I think the way he's able to connect with players is second to none. But I wouldn't overlook, it's become almost a punchline how many coaches they have on staff. I think it's up to 25, 26 now. And while that can seem a little excessive, I think what it allows is almost individualized coaching in every single practice. And that's what Kevin O'Connell talks about. He's aware of well, people talk about we have too many coaches, but there's intentionality behind it. And I think that's why you see these guys progress and develop the way they do. They have coaching at every single turn whenever they're on the field.
Joe, obviously, big summer ahead for the Minnesota Wild. You got Krill, you got Gus, maybe. You got the Rossi situation. Potential trades. Bill Guerin made it very clear that he knows the time is now that you got to start. The buyout shackles are off. It's time. He's been tired of sitting on his hands and feeling like he's been constrained. What do you expect here? You know, we just had Ben Hankinson on earlier in the show, and he made it extremely clear that Brock Nelson and Brock Besser are two guys that he would very well, as an agent, consider placing him in Minnesota if the Wild were interested in. Obviously, from a Wild standpoint, everything depends on term and money and all that stuff. What do you think?
I feel like, me personally, I get a little nervous. You start handing out 7-8 year deals to guys that have already been in the league for a half dozen years or longer. I know that's the reality, though. Like, if you want to pry this big fish, this UFA, away from the rest of the teams looking for him, you either got to outspend in the AAV, or you got to give more term, or a combo of both. It just makes me a little uneasy. And I think, personally, I'd rather see 2 or 3 splashes than one big splash. I just think the organization could use the depth. We saw it in the playoffs. You have a team that's Colorado, as deep as they were on paper. They couldn't get out of the first round. Tampa, as primed as they were for a run, they couldn't get out of the first round. Like, you need a little bit of luck. You need some health, good health, obviously. You need great goaltending. But I feel like the deeper you are, the better chance you get to advance. So I'd rather see maybe 2 or 3 moves to total that number, whatever it is, in free agency spending, as opposed to one move, a guy making $12 million a year, or $10 million a year.
And Guerin talked about at the presser that one big reason why the injuries were so impactful this year is because they just don't have the depth to make up for it like other teams can.
Yeah, you can get by for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You can't get by for 41 games out.
And when you have a third line of Marcus Johansson, Freddie Gaudreau, and Gus Nyquist, that's just not on par with the other teams. So, it's going to be a really interesting summer. Priority number 1, get Krill signed, and then figure it out from there. The Marco Rossi situation will probably have to be dealt with well in advance with the draft, and then to make sure that if there's an offer sheet coming, that's dealt with before. Thanks to Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press and Joe O'Donnell for coming in. Thanks for Ben Hankinson for coming on. Chris Johnston and John Krasinski for coming in studio. Brett Blakemore, just a gem behind the glass. I don't know why that Pat Micheletti treats you so poorly.
I don't get it either.
Yep, I respect you. You have great takes. This is Michael Russo from The Athletic. We'll be on next time. Talk to you then.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.